Oh, the bumper is over. I'm out there talking to Gunner and Tyler and Dave. And what are we doing here? What are we doing? That's on me. Postgame show. Our buddy Jay Phillips will not be available today. He is going off to get some things done he needs to get accomplished so he can move forward with his treatment and get his life back to normal as soon as he possibly can. I know that talking to Jay today, he knows he's going through a process, but it's human nature. You just want to get it done and move on with your life and get back to whatever level of normalcy you can have moving forward. So Jay is working on that. He is heading toward getting some stuff done today. He might be with us in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll see how all that goes. But Jay not with us today. Possibly we'll talk with him a bit in the 5 o'clock hour here on the postgame show. Cale's here punching the buttons.
Yep,
Terry
you're
Ford,
stuck here with me.
Yeah, I know, kind of, man. Anyway, great. No, I love that idea, Cale. I am excited about being stuck here with you. On the list of 10 people in this world I want to be stuck with for 3 hours, you're absolutely not on the list. I mean, you're absolutely on the list, I swear. I promise. All right, look.
Good to know I can always count on you for support.
I'm here for you. Carolina tonight at CLA against Florida. Well, we're not going to sugarcoat this thing. Florida is very talented. Sometimes they play to their talent, sometimes they don't. Defending national champions, the best front court arguably in America. They're really good up front. They're excellent in the paint, in the interior. They are statistically in some metrics the best offensive rebounding team in the country. They're just a heck of a rebounding team in general. They play not as fast as Texas A&M, but they will play at a faster pace. And the one Achilles heel Florida has is they can't shoot a three-pointer to save their life. But they do a lot of other things well. And it is not a good matchup with the Florida front court against South Carolina's interior because South Carolina's front court has had a lot of trouble this year. And these guys, this front court, the Gators are bringing into Columbia is really, 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 really good. For South Carolina to pull an upset tonight, probably the Gators have to shoot woefully. They have at times this year, so it's not like it hasn't happened. Florida's going to have to help out a little bit by making some mistakes, some turnovers, just not play their A game. And South Carolina's got to play their A game. They got to start fast. When South Carolina's won in conference, they've started fast. They got to start fast. They got to hit some threes. They got to get that the good feels about them, so to speak. That's where South Carolina's at regarding what they need to do. They can't get destroyed on the glass. They cannot give up a lot of offensive rebounds because if Florida doesn't shoot it well, they can rebound their missed shots. You got to get bodies on people. I know that South Carolina, it's been hit or miss. There have been some good rebounding nights and some not so good rebounding nights. But tonight, you got to put a body on somebody, especially if Florida's shooting the ball. You can't let them get putbacks and second chance opportunities and extra possessions. That's the way you get beat by a lot of points. So, again, that's kind of in a nutshell where Florida's at. You're hoping their backcourt of Lee and Fland is having a bad night. They have been inconsistent this year. The front court is really good, like I said. When Florida has stubbed their toe this year, there's been inconsistencies in guard play. So that's what you're hoping for tonight for South Carolina to have a chance to pull a W in this game. Could the Gamecocks win? Sure. Like I said, Florida has lost games, but Florida's lost really only to ranked teams or really good teams. The loss to Auburn at home, look, make no mistake, Auburn's underachieving this year. That's a talented crew. You just took away one of the best coaches in college basketball and replaced him with an inexperienced coach who wouldn't get this job if his last name wasn't Pearl. Let's just be honest here. If Stephen Pearl's last name was Stephen Ford or Stephen Wilson or Stephen Mabalabalaski, he would not be the head coach at Auburn. He's the head coach at Auburn. Not to say he can't be a good coach one day. But right now, he got that gig because he's Bruce Pearl's son. He was sitting on the bench with his dad for X amount of years. Auburn's underachieving this year. Stephen Pearl's figuring out his way as a head coach in a power conference school that's got a lot of expectations. Auburn this year is not as good as the talent they have. But they are talented, and the other night in Gainesville, they played to their talent. So make no mistake, that's a good Auburn team that went into Gainesville and won over Florida. So Florida's lost to nothing but good teams all year. Can South Carolina pull what would be a huge upset? Sure they could. Start fast, make your threes, make your free throws, don't get crushed on the glass. Hope Florida plays like Florida can at times, which is, that's the goal here if you want to pull a W tonight. You can hear it right here, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip right here on the Game in Columbia and our sister station, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Eli Ellis will play for South Carolina, the freshman guard, part of the backcourt rotation. So Ellis will be on the court tonight. He has been hurt, been out with an ankle injury. He is back ready to rock and roll tonight. Look, all depth is good for the Gamecocks. There's no such thing as bad depth on this basketball team. They will be happy to have Eli Ellis back to go with Michi and Knox and the folks in the backcourt. This game, though, is about the front line of South Carolina not getting run over, because that could happen tonight. And the South Carolina front court can't let that happen. Eli Strong, you can't throw another goose egg up, my man. Can't happen tonight. And you're going to have to be active on the glass. Sometimes Strong is, sometimes he's not. Quite frankly, you look at Elijah Strong and you go, man, for your size, you should be fighting harder to get boards, man.
When Strong is on, he's on. But when he's off, he's off.
And when he's off, it's like a milk carton. It's like, is he here? Is he available? You saw the other night. It was a bad matchup. Strong wasn't making shots. He just wasn't a good matchup for what A&M was doing. Their bigs are about the size of Elijah Strong. And Strong, he sat down after a while. And he scored as many points as Cale and I.
You know what? We actually had a better shot percentage.
I think we did, because we didn't miss a shot, you and I.
No, we didn't.
That's an excellent point by you. Way to pull the stats there. Nice work.
Thank you.
It was just a rough night. I mean, but it's not just him. Anybody that hits this front court tonight, again, would be great if you could be productive from a point standpoint, sure, but you just can't count on that, obviously. What you need is effort, hustle. You need boxing out. You need some grit. You need fighting on the glass. And defensively, it's not going to be easy because the Gators' front court is so good. You've just got to make things as difficult as you can for Florida. A lot of effort tonight. Some stuff that won't show up in the box score is what you need tonight to get a win against Florida. Again, not impossible. It's not. Florida right now is not as good as they were last year when they won the national championship. And remember, South Carolina had Florida beat last year, and Florida got off the ropes. So hopefully it'll be interesting tonight. Hopefully South Carolina can hold their own, make this game very interesting for 40 minutes. We'll find out. Again, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip here on the Game. I will get into this more in the next segment. The big story that hit, so to speak, nationally is this embarrassment from the Football Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame, regarding Bill Belichick. We're going to get into that here in just a little bit. It is embarrassing. It reminds me of the Baseball Hall of Fame with the pettiness and the stupidity that the Baseball Hall of Fame has. And the Football Hall of Fame was always kind of not like that. The Football Hall of Fame always said, the NFL Hall of Fame said, look, we just care about what you do on the field. Well, obviously, that rule got thrown out the window with the announcement that Bill Belichick would not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So we'll get into that in the next segment. But really, just to set it up, it's like the people that vote for this stuff, and the NFL, again, really did it in your face for the first time. Baseball does it in your face all the time. The people that vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame take pride in being the gatekeepers of the game and putting their moral judgments and their prejudices and their likes and dislikes against players when they vote. Hall of Fame baseball voters take pride in doing that, which I think is garbage. But I always gave the NFL Hall of Fame voters more credit that they did not do that as blatantly as baseball. Well, they did it with Belichick. And it's an embarrassment what they did. I don't care what the excuses are. We're going to get into some of those too. I've heard, well, maybe this, well, maybe that. Well, it had to be about this, had to be about that. All of it's just it's asinine.
They wanted to throw you for a loop.
Well,
it's like, hey, that he's giving us the benefit of the doubt. Let's switch up his opinion now.
We're going to not vote for the biggest no-brainer Hall of Famer on the first ballot that we've ever gotten on the first ballot in Bill Belichick. And look, we'll say this because we'll get this out of the way too before we really dig into this in the next segment. Who cares if you don't like Bill Belichick? Who cares? Who cares if he's got the personality of a goalpost? Who cares if you think him running around with this 25-year-old girl is stupid? Who cares if, he didn't talk to you once in a post-game presser? Who cares if he said on to Cincinnati 65 straight times? Who cares? This isn't a popularity contest. This isn't voting in people with personality. Hell, if we were making this about personality, half the Hall of Fame wouldn't be there. Has nothing to do. So what if Bill's unlikable? Yeah, he's unlikable. Duh. Newsflash. The guy's unlikable.
He's stale.
He comes off dull and boring and boorish and all those other things. Even though the ironic part is people who know him away from football, they say he's actually fun and he's funny and he has a personality and he's engaging and interesting. And all that might be true until he steps into the world of the NFL and then he puts on this personality and it's not very positive, but he doesn't care. He just wants to win. And he's done a lot of winning. He's done more winning than pretty much any head coach in the history of the NFL. Very short list of guys who have won as much as Bill. And when it comes to Super Bowls, nobody. Super Bowl appearances, nobody. Playoff wins, nobody. And all these excuses that have tried to pop up here since this ridiculous vote came out are just excuses. They're not reasons. They're just excuses. They're petty or they're silly or they're, to quote the texting I'll get from people, WTF. And we're going to get into it next because it's every now and then, I've never totally stunned anymore of anything I see. I've been doing sports talk since 2000. But this did give me a double eyebrow raise when I saw this on the TV late in the show yesterday, that Belichick was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll get into that next, kind of break it down a little bit, the nuts and bolts of a story that makes no sense. That's coming up next. Cale's here. Terry Ford, it's a post-game show. We're going till 6 on the game. Okay, so like we teased, sitting here yesterday, doing the show. I think it was a 5 o'clock hour, minding my own business. And we're just talking sports like we typically do. We're doing either the Gamecock Notebook or the 5 o'clock news sponsor Integrated Media.
Talking sports on a sports radio
I
station?
know, it's bizarre. It's like some dudes don't. Some dudes like, we'll talk anything but sports. Anybody can talk sports. That's boring. Let's talk anything but sports.
Let's talk about the weather.
It's just, or spend an hour. Hey, let me tell you about every episode I binged of Landman. So, Bill Belichick, then it comes across the bottom, all of a sudden, breaking news on the TV here. We got our bank of TVs in the studio. And it said Bill Belichick not elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I was like, excuse me? See, I thought there was just a no-brainer that was going to happen. That, it's not even worth talking about. Well, NFL Hall of Fame information is going to be coming out, and obviously Bill Belichick will be, first ballot guy. And he wasn't. And you're like, what?
The thought of that just makes me laugh.
It's just insane. And a lot of different things came out. And it just depends on which direction you look. And the first thought a lot of people who covered the game said, well, this is the Hall of Fame committee dinging Belichick because of Spygate and Deflategate and all these other gates that happened in New England. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you didn't ding other people for, quote unquote, cheating or bending rules or off the field issues or whatever. Why all of a sudden you decide to ding Bill Belichick?
Because it's a new code of conduct.
No, they're just petty. It's just the idea that then you start hearing Bill Polian. Now, Bill Polian in himself is a Hall of Fame executive. He built the Carolina Panthers, who went to the Super Bowl. He built the Buffalo Bills, who went to 4 Super Bowls. He built the Colts team, who went to 2 Super Bowls. He won a Super Bowl. He is a very well-respected man in the NFL. And also got his tail kicked by Belichick's Patriots many times. And Spygate was a burr in his backside once all that came out. So Polian, people think, might have led this. Now, Polian, of course, is going to deny it. He's not going to get up and go, yeah, I led a block of people not to vote for Bill Belichick because I'm a petty man. Of course, he's not going to say that out loud. Now, again, Polian obviously denies this, even said he voted for Belichick himself. Then there, I forget exactly, a tweet came out today by someone who was, I think, an assistant coach in the league at the time, or someone who was in the league at the time of the whole Deflategate, Spygate, said that other teams were doing that or trying to do that in the same sort of way, which, we've talked about this all the time. When someone gets caught doing something, it just means 10 other people haven't gotten caught yet. Like the Houston Astros with their cheating with the trash cans and all that mess. You think the New England Patriots were the only ones smart enough to try to pull off a thing like Spygate? Stop. Of course not. Maybe they just did it better, they did it faster, they did it smarter, whatever. But others were trying to do the same thing, and this was in a social media post. So that's another part of this. Yeah, when you look, I've always said this. If you're cheating and you get caught cheating, whether 30 other people were doing it, if you got caught, oh well, you got caught, you got to pay the price. But there were others as well trying to do this type of thing at that time in the NFL. So the idea you want to penalize Bill Belichick for it when you people in the league knew others were also sniffing around this type of thing is hypocritical as hell. Then you hear about the possibility that there were voters who thought Belichick was such a no-brainer that they were voting for veteran committee guys who were on their last go-around to get them in, because they figured, Bill's in. Well, here's the thing. If 11 people do that, then guess who's not in? Bill. So to me, that's if you're voting in that strategy you should not be allowed to vote anymore. Don't manipulate the vote with what your personal feelings are. I mean, you vote for who deserves to be in the hall. Flat out. That's the way it goes. So that type of voting with, well, I'm going to vote for this guy and this guy because it's their last time on the ballot because I know Bill's going to get in, if not this year or soon. No, that's not the way this works. Or it shouldn't work. And then there's the thing, well, there are people who didn't vote for Belichick, who didn't like him for whatever. Who cares? Again, like we said in the last segment, who cares? And then people are talking about this new process of voting where you only get X amount of votes and not you can't. It used to be you could vote for a lot more people than you can now. So they've changed the process of the voting too. And you can blame all that. You can blame all that stuff all day. To me, it's all excuses. The bottom line is this: if Bill Belichick doesn't get on the first ballot, what coach gets in on the first ballot moving forward? Who? Who's got that record? Let's list them, Cale. I'm done. That's the list of people who have the record that Belichick has in totality. And if he's not a first ballot, don't put no coach on their first ballot, because no one should be a first ballot Hall of Fame head coach in the NFL moving forward. Look, I like Andy Reid a lot. He didn't have Bill Belichick's resume. Andy Reid's a flat-out Hall of Fame head coach, but guess what? Not on the first ballot. Because if Belichick's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, none of these guys are.
Hugh Jackson. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Hugh Jackson.
First, I don't.
Richie Kotite.
Yes.
How about, yeah. What was it?
Urban Meyer.
Yeah. Coach Callahan that got canned in Tennessee. Yeah, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's a great example. May have been the worst NFL head coach for 1 year ever.
Frank Reich's 8-game or 7-game tenure at the Panthers.
Frank Reich goes in, hey, Frank, we got a quarterback for you. I don't want that guy. So, yeah, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And they've made a mockery of the Hall of Fame, of the NFL Hall of Fame voting. They really have. And now they get to be in the same level as Major League Baseball when it comes to just stupidity and pompousness and arrogance and putting your personal feelings ahead of what you should be doing, which is voting for the best people to go into the Hall. Congratulations. Nice work, NFL. You're right there with Major League Baseball now. Way to go. You should be proud of yourself.
Making us so proud.
And so many people. I mean, there has not been one person who has publicly come out and said this was the right thing to do. I'm all for it. I support it. I get there. But no. You have done this. Congratulations, by the way. You have made a guy in Bill Belichick who was always looked at and put away the idea of how great of a coach he was. Unlikable. He was a curmudgeon. I think he was a curmudgeon when he was 17. He is not a guy that's warm and fuzzy in any way, shape, or form. A guy who the end of his career in New England didn't end well. This whole thing in North Carolina has been a disaster / punchline. The girlfriend thing, everybody's been like, what? Huh?
Still don't know how that happened.
All that you wipe away now. Because now Bill Belichick is looked at as a figure we all think got treated unfairly. We have all rallied. Think about this for a minute. We have all rallied around Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see that happen 8 or 9 years ago.
Ever. Did anybody think, well, the whole world's going to rally around Bill Belichick because he's been wronged? All of a sudden, Bill Belichick is a sympathetic figure. Nice work, NFL.
I don't think I'm going to get used to saying that Bill Belichick is a sympathetic figure.
Never, but he is. It's sad.
He is. I just won't get used to it.
And then the one other thing I've heard, and this again is ridiculous. Well, he didn't win a Super Bowl without Brady as a head coach. That's like you're saying that no matter who the head coach was in New England, Tom Brady would have been part of all those championships. Look, it's very simple. Belichick needed Brady. Brady needed Belichick. If you want to say Belichick needed Brady more, fine. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you because it's not worth an argument. But they needed each other in some way, shape, or form to do what they did. That's reality. Like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That's reality.
Yeah, Andy Reid's not going to go and win a Super Bowl with Gardner Minshew.
I'll tell you what, Andy Reid didn't win a Super Bowl with any quarterback in Philadelphia. Didn't win a Super Bowl with Alex Smith. Won't win one with Gardner Minshew. Uncle Rico. I mean, he won't. No, but that's the thing. So does that make Andy Reid not as good of a head coach because he needed Patrick Mahomes? No, of course not. They needed each other. They fit together well in what they do best, and it made a marriage that led to a championship or championships. So anybody says, well, Bill shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because, well, he couldn't win without Tom Brady. Okay. That's not the way this works. You couldn't put, like you said, Urban Meyer as the head coach of the New England Patriots and have the Patriots win all those Super Bowls. Wouldn't happen. Mike McDaniel wouldn't happen. Just wouldn't. Heck, John Harbaugh wouldn't have done it. Mike Tomlin wouldn't have done it. It just, Belichick and Brady worked perfectly together, just like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. All right, South Carolina, as we sit here in the offseason, the folks at Gamecock Central put together a very interesting piece about how this offensive line room got built by the Gamecocks. We'll get into that next here on the postgame show. Cale's here, punching buttons. Terry Ford. We might have Jay in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll see as we go till 6 on the game and the Game Network. All right, my earbuds are going in the crapper. I can't win with these earbuds. These were okay for a while. They're starting to go. I can tell. Yeah, I have to go steal some more from, did I say it out loud? I mean, go get some more from Best Buy.
I heard Dave has an extra pair in his bag.
Yeah, I don't know if I want it. I don't know where Dave's earbuds have been. I'm kind of scared to find out or ask. All right, post-game show. Appreciate Cale steering the ship for us today. Jay, maybe in the 5 o'clock hour today, he's going to get some things taken care of as he continues his treatment for bladder cancer. And obviously, like always, we wish our buddy Jay the best as he goes through what he does. And we're confident he'll come out on the other side and he can start, doing a full show again, starting, to go back in studio again and all the things he's used to doing with his life. So, and thank you again for all the good words and the best wishes and the thoughts and the prayers and all the things you've done for Jay. It's it's greatly appreciated, not just by Jay, but by all of us here at the Game and the Game Network. All right, so this is a very interesting post put up by Chris Clark. He does these Portal Insider posts. And today he focused on how South Carolina built their transfer offensive line class. Just kind of the backstory of bringing some of these guys in. And like, for example, Jacarius Peak, obviously that was a battle to get Jacarius Peak. Looked at as on threes, way too early, top 100 list of players. Jacarius Peak was the number 2 offensive lineman and the number 14th player overall. That's how good people think of Jacarius Peak. Now, South Carolina had to beat out Alabama, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, according to Gamecock Central. They got information that Mississippi State was prepared to offer a huge NIL package for Peak. South Carolina beat Alabama. The deal was completed during Peak's visit to Columbia, so he never went to Tuscaloosa. That is so important in this stuff. Because that's one thing, it's always like in Major League Baseball or the NFL or the NBA or whatever, NHL, when you have a player coming in for a free agent visit, the philosophy has always been, don't let him leave the building. Lock the doors, chain the doors, tase the guy, lock him in a closet. You don't want that player to leave the building. You want to get the deal done when he's there. You don't want to let him out. It's like, I got buddies who sell cars, and people have buddies who have run car dealerships. They don't want to let you leave. They want to get the deal done when you're there. And it's the same thing with professional sports franchises and free agents, and now in college with these quote-unquote free agents. When they come visit you at your complex, at your university, in your town, you don't want to let them leave. You want to get the deal done. Don't let them go visit anywhere else. And it's kind of what South Carolina did with Peak. They got him here. He liked what he saw. He loved what South Carolina was discussing with him. And Peak did the deal before he went to Tuscaloosa. That was a hell of a selling job. Nice work, Gamecocks. Also, Emmanuel Kojo Poku, South Carolina, according to the info from Gamecock Central, they beat out Clemson. Poku was slated to make a trip to the upstate after his visit to South Carolina, but the Gamecocks were able to get the deal done before he left.
Beating out Clemson.
Yeah, beat out Clemson on Poku. Yep. Poku, again, liked what he saw here, liked, I guess, for lack of a better term, what the Gamecocks were selling. Obviously, the financial part of the deal was acceptable. Poku never went to the upstate. Again, when they're in your building, get them. Don't let them leave. Flatten their tires. Do anything you have to. Not to let them leave the building.
So you're openly telling the recruiting staff to slash recruits' tires.
Slash tires to keep them here for another day.
Well, my tires are slashed. Oh, gee, how'd that happen?
You got all 4 tires are flat. Oh, wow! Let's put you up another night at the hotel. What the heck? Come on, let's go to Halls and eat. That's just you want to get it done when they're with you. And there's the two best offensive linemen, according to all the folks who grade this, Poku and Peak, had other visits set up, but South Carolina sealed the deal when they were here. And again, that's the thing about this. You know, Shane's tenure has had some really good years and some disappointing years, right? It's been a mixed bag. One solid year, his first season, you go 6-6, and you win a bowl game, you finish 7-6. You had an 8-win year and a 9-win year, but you also had a disappointing 5-win year and a disappointing 4-win year. So it's been, up and down. But the one thing that it feels like that Shane and that staff and that culture in that football program, players want to be there. You think about it. Dylan Stewart, we've said this. There's not a team in America Dylan Stewart doesn't make better. Not one defense in America goes like this. We don't need that guy. We're good. Not even Texas, who has the kid Simmons coming off the edge, who behind Stewart is looked at as maybe the second best edge in the country. Texas would go, oh, yeah, we'll put Stewart on the other side. Dylan Stewart stayed. After going through a 4-8 season, where there were so many expectations on this football team, and it went, and that was the noise. Dylan Stewart stayed. Nick Harbor, who, like Dylan Stewart's from the DMV, stayed. Well, Norris is a South Carolina kid, and, again, you're home, and, but again, Norris Sellers even talks about, as he was a kid growing up, he wasn't jumping up and down about always wanting to be a Gamecock. But again, Lenore Sellers stayed. So we could look at the one-loss record, what they're doing, what they're not doing, what makes you happy, what frustrates you, and all those things about the football program. But for 4-8, you didn't keep everybody you wanted to keep. There's a couple that got away that you probably would like to have kept, like a Brian Rowe, maybe Trevon Ball. But you kept really the big three you wanted to keep. And then you also, kept Thompson.
You also kept Mazeo Bennett, which was really surprising.
I thought he'd transfer. He's not getting playing time. He's lost playing time. I was very surprised that Mazeo didn't leave.
I was very surprised, too. I mean, after how much production he had his freshman year and how little
he just got passed over.
He did.
And usually when guys get passed over, and you know this, Cale, they usually want to go leave and get an opportunity somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Mazeo Bennett didn't. He came back. So, yeah, there are guys. Look, you lost Dre Jacobs, and that's also a loss. You like to have him back because Jacobs had some good games last year. But you got depth in the wide receiver room. You went out and hit the portal, and you brought in some receivers. You still have Harbor. Jaden Sellers showed you some stuff near the end of the year. Donovan Murph should have been in high school last year.
And he still made some good plays.
And Murph has got a ton of potential. So, yeah, losing Jacobs and Brian Rowe, I think Brian Rowe's going to be a good player.
Yeah, UCLA got a steal.
You watched Brian Rowe last year, you're like, man, that is a talented dude. He's twitchy, he's quick. He's going to make some plays, and unfortunately, it'll be at UCLA. But so you lost two receivers you'd like to have had back. Probably Baugh. But for the most part, you kept a lot of the guys you wanted to keep. Yeah. And it wasn't this mass exodus of 70 dudes through the portal after a 4-8 season.
Yeah, I would say it was a very successful transfer portal.
I'll put it this way. It could have been a lot worse.
Oh,
it
for
really
sure.
could have been.
That's an understatement.
And look at, you went out and you hired a high-level offensive coordinator. And typically, to get a guy of Kendall Browell's reputation, I was a little surprised because, again, look, let's make no mistake. Shane's got to win in 2026. He's got to win. And sometimes high-level coordinators won't go to a place where it feels like the coach has to win. So Shane got a really good offensive coordinator as well. So I tell you, what I'm saying is this. Those guys know how to sell this program and keep people and get people in the portal and not lose as many people. All right, time to crack open the old vault and see what happened on this day in sports history and just like entertainment history as well. It's a post-game show. Cale steering the ship. Terry Ford, appreciate you. We go to 4 on the game. Postgame show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out. Tell you what, Cale, I'm going to tell you to hit that button in a second to get the vault going. For some reason, everything flip-flopped in there, so I'll tell you in a second. And it's going. Don't worry about it. We got the vault coming up. I got to fix that thing. I don't know why it's doing that. But trust me, this time for the vault. Here on the Postgame show, Terry Ford Kill's running the ship for us. And I left my... Okay. So a lot of interesting stuff.
What'd you leave?
I left my phone in the other room. It's okay.
Dang.
I just realized it. You know, when you leave your phone in the other room, all of a sudden it hits you like it just did me, because it's like you're missing an arm. Because I mean, we carry these stupid phones everywhere all the time, and all of a sudden it hit me. It's like, wow, I don't have my phone. Oh my God, I left it in the other room. Oh geez.
Dave's gonna try to look for it. Dave's gonna bring it to you.
Yeah.
He's
Dave, it's password protected, so don't do anything goofy to my phone, Dave. All of a sudden, all these weird apps show up on my phone from Dave. All right, this day in sports history, we had a lot of good stuff. Thank you, David Dare.
It's still an Android, eh?
Yeah, well, told you, I'm not part of your weird cult, Dave. Your weird Apple cult.
Surprised it works.
Hey, I'm in that cult.
Yeah, like I said, I know I'm by myself, and I don't care. I don't care. I'm dying on that hill.
You'll join us someday.
No, I won't. This day in 1901, the American League was founded. The league plans for a 140-game schedule. They set player rosters ready for this at 14. 14 players a roster. And it recognized the Players Protective Association as the players' quote-unquote wink-wink union. Of course, that didn't last long. All right. Also on this day, 1984. Run this through your head if you're a hockey fan. Wayne Gretzky, on this day in 1984, his record 51-game scoring streak was stopped. Over 51 games where Gretzky scored in 51 consecutive games, he scored 61 goals and had 92 assists. He averaged 3 points a game through this scoring streak. Just his records are... You know, we look at Barry Bonds' records and go, wow, that was all steroid stuff. Wayne Gretzky has the same kind of sickening numbers, but you look at Wayne Gretzky, you're like, there's no steroid in that guy. This day in 1990, there's a couple Super Bowl championships on this day. 1990, it's too bad Jay's not here. He'd love this one. This day in 1990, the San Francisco 49ers beat the Denver Broncos 55-10. The most lopsided Super Bowl victory in the history of the game. The 49ers were the first repeat champion in a decade and tied the Steelers with 4 Super Bowl wins. This day, in 2001, the Ravens took out the Giants in the Super Bowl 34-7. Ravens defense gave up no points. The only score in that game for the Giants was a kickoff return for a touchdown. On this day in 2012, Towson University, it's in Baltimore. Spent way too much time on that campus in my life. Ended its 41-game losing streak in men's hoops by finally getting a W over North Carolina Wilmington 66-61. 41-game losing streak. Ugh. 2014, calling the NCAA a dictatorship, Northwestern quarterback Kane Coulter and the United Steelworkers announced plans to form the first labor union for college athletics. It kind of did not work out, obviously. All right, Cale, get ready to hit the button. And this big moment happened at the Australian Open on this day in 2017.
And Serena smashes Steffi's record. It's number 23.
Serena Williams on this day beat her sister, Venus, to win her 23rd Grand Slam singles title. And still, like, honestly, I used to be a massive tennis dork. I still like it, but I used to watch the majors. To me, Serena Williams, look, Steffi Graf was phenomenal. Martina Navratilova was phenomenal, but Serena Williams was just a different level, a notch above both of them. I don't think we'll ever see a female tennis player dominate the way Serena Williams did. Remember, she took time off. She was carrying a child and won a major. It's insane. She was just unbelievable, and she won her 23rd Grand Slam singles title on this day in 2017, again beating her sister Venus for that championship. And Venus was really good too. She got that autoimmune problem that hurt her later in her career, but Serena won her. I mean, Venus won her share of majors. Just nothing compared to her sister Serena. So anyway, there's your vault. We will come back. Take a look at the dust has settled in the world of college football for right now when it comes to litigation. Settled a little bit. We'll talk about that coming back here on the postgame show. Cale's running the show. Terry's here. We go till 6 on the game. Post-game show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us. Real quick, some news that just came down the pike a little while ago for Gamecock baseball. Season's about, 2 weeks away roughly? And Jake McCoy, South Carolina lefty, will be out for the year, requiring Tommy John surgery, suffering a UCL tear. McCoy had 14 starts last year. That led the team. Pitching the team's first preseason scrimmage last Thursday, and that outing lasted 2 innings. Gave up 3 runs, 5 hits, couple walks, couple strikeouts. Obviously, an issue ends up being a UCL tear, which will require Tommy John. So, bad news on that front, as Jake McCoy is out for the year. All right, and we'll see who steps into that spot in the starting rotation for the Gamecocks. Amp Phillips, Riley Goodman, Alex Philpott, Bradley Hodges, Josh Gunther, all are pitchers that could be competing to jump into McCoy's shoes. That's a big loss. A lot of talent McCoy has. If you look at MLB.com's top 100 prospect rankings for this upcoming season, McCoy's ranked 62nd. There's talent there. It's just consistent location and strike throwing ability has been McCoy's enemy. Walked 40 last year in 60 innings, also struck out 77. Good stuff, just had problems always knowing where it was going. So Jake McCoy out for the year with Tommy John, and obviously that's not good. All right, we seem to be settling down a bit on for today the legal drama that has become NCAA athletics with the Darian Mensah settlement. Mensah, now you ready for this? You sitting down? Right after the settlement, later yesterday, Darian Mensah committed to Miami. I know, no one saw that coming.
Wow.
What a shocker.
Who would have guessed that?
Like, knock me over with a feather, man.
Miami tried to develop a quarterback challenge. Impossible.
We knew this was the deal. We knew that the last minute, Miami desperate for a starting quarterback. They've been striking out in the portal. They couldn't talk Ty Simpson into taking his name out of the NFL draft and playing for Miami for, what was it, $6 million or whatever it was. So Miami, looking around at the last minute, poached Darian Mensah on the final day of the portal.
That's just the one thing I can't stand about Miami. I don't have an issue with Miami. I just can't stand the fact that they just want to every year go and pay millions of dollars to a quarterback just to play 1 year for him.
No, I mean,
so they can put off having to develop somebody.
Well, they just don't want to develop somebody. I mean, I think here's the thing. I believe that if you have an offensive system in place that is pretty easy to learn and very quarterback friendly, you can get, and you obviously have to have talent around the quarterback. You can plug in these veteran quarterbacks for a year.
Miami always gets quarterbacks that can run.
Well,
now Carson Beck was not, I would not call him a dual threat quarterback.
No.
But if you needed him to run, he could.
Well, it's funny because he did at Miami. He couldn't. I mean, it was like he had his shoes tied together at Georgia, and all of a sudden, this dude's taking off and making some plays with his legs at Miami. He couldn't do it. If you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, you're watching, you're watching Carson Beck in the playoffs, going, when did this guy get legs? He didn't run like that at Georgia.
Exactly. He had that game-winning touchdown run against Ole Miss. And then Ohio State, I think it was 3rd down and 10 or 3rd down and 11. He just ran for it and trucked a guy, an Ohio State defender, and picked up a first down that way. And, yeah, exactly kind of as you were saying. Georgia fans were just thinking, well, where was this?
And, look, Mensah's really good. And this is the thing about it. He's a hell of a quarterback. And, look, here's my thing with this, too. If Mensah would have went into the portal, if he would have just looked at Duke and I don't know, obviously there was no buyout language in his NIL agreement, and that's what's got to happen here. Mensah had a 2-year agreement. You signed a 2-year agreement, and then 1 year, and then you said you were coming back. You made a stupid video and everything. And then the last day before the day the portal closes, you jump in totally okey doke Duke.
That's just ridiculous.
And that's just, to me, it's just low grade, it's low class. By Mensa, the people around Mensa, for letting him, the agent agents equal slime ball a lot of times.
Yeah, put the quote unquote agent.
Yeah, the University of Miami, the whole thing's just slimy.
Are you accusing of the University of Miami of tampering?
No, that would never happen. No one tampers. Everybody just pops up and all of a sudden they go somewhere really quick. The negotiation was 35 seconds. It's just the idea that this loophole exists, that you can jump back in the portal at any point. You can jump in the portal, sign somewhere, but then jump back in the portal again if you want to in certain circumstances. That has to stop. I mean, and if you are tampering and you get caught, there has to be some real penalty for it. This whole thing's a mess. But shocking, the NCAA equals a mess. That never happens. But that got taken care of yesterday. Mensa's at Miami, and Duke's looking around for a quarterback. But right now, I just checking, we have, I guess, a Trinidad Chambliss deal is still going through the courts in Mississippi. But, of course, you're asking for a temporary stay or temporary injunction in a Mississippi court. And where's University of Mississippi? Oh, it's in Mississippi. So this dog and pony show at Trinidad Chambliss will continue, and he'll get love from the local courts. We've seen this game play out before, like with Diego Pavia. Now, here's what's interesting. Basketball. We know about the Charles Bediako deal. Left Alabama, was in pro basketball for, 3 years, roughly? Still had eligibility, so left the G League and is now back at Alabama. Tuscaloosa County Circuit Court Judge James Roberts has granted the NCAA's petition to recuse himself, I'll get the word right, to recuse himself from the Bediako case. That's according to Seth Davis and Pete Nakos. The NCAA filed a motion late Monday evening requesting Roberts, a noted University of Alabama donor, to remove himself from the Bediako case due to, quote, external circumstances that could give the appearance of partiality. Stop it. The judge in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where's University of Alabama? Oh, Tuscaloosa, who, by the way, is a donor to the University of Alabama. You think that guy would show partiality on the bench?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Stunning. But I will give Roberts credit for granting the NCAA's petition to recuse him. Because, again, if you're Roberts, too, you want to get out of this thing. Selfishly. I get it. But Roberts, he granted the temporary restraining order last week so Bediako could play for Alabama. Quote from, I think, the Bediako folks, I believe. Bediako's lawyer. To be clear, Mr. Bediako fully expects to prevail in this litigation. The facts and law are on his side, but neither Mr. Bediako nor his counsel have any doubt that this court will preside over the present matter with anything but fairness and impartiality. That's from the court. Here's the thing on this. We haven't really talked about this a lot or dug into it. The pushback coming from folks in the college basketball community to the people who are not down with this, Bediako coming back and playing after he has accepted money to play pro ball, basically play in the NBA system, which is the G League. Because Bediako has not played a second in the NBA. The pushback from folks is this: well, you're letting the European pro players come play in America. Why can't the American pro players go back and play? I understand that in theory, and yeah, that again, loopholes, that has to be figured out. If you want to put an age limit on something, you do want to just say if you play pro ball anywhere, you can't come back to college. Of course, you can put a rule up and someone's going to take you to court because that's what happens when you don't have a CBA. But just to blanketly say, well, the European pro players can come play in America, but the Americans can't, and that's not fair. There's different levels of pro leagues in Europe. Europe doesn't have a college system like we do in America. There's some really low-level pro leagues that are like colleges. And then there's some pro leagues that are like, wow, pro leagues. So it really depends on the league these Euros are in. Because some of them are coming over college age who played in a quote-unquote pro league because, well, there's no college programs to play for. So, again, this thing is like everything in this whole mess, everything's a big gray area. But it's not as simple to say, well, if the pros in Europe can come back and play in college, well, the Americans should be able to also. I understand that on a basic level, but it's a little bit of a deeper conversation than just that. Man, it'd be great if they had someone who was in charge of college athletics who just did what was best for college athletics. Wow, that'd be a good idea. But anyway, Bediako, the judge, James Roberts, did recuse himself from the case. And again, that's according to Seth Davis from Hoops headquarters. All right, speaking of hoops tonight, and look, do I think Bediako should be playing in college? No. Very simple. Do I think a European player who has played a certain level of professional basketball should be playing in an American college either? I think that's where the consistency needs to be. There's got to be a certain level of European collegiate player or European professional player because he's a real pro in a real league that's like a pro league, like for real. They shouldn't be able to play in America either. Just like Bediako should. You left college, you didn't care about your eligibility, you went to play in the pros, you've been there for multiple years, you've been in the G League, you've accepted two-way money, all that stuff. I just don't think you should be able to come back. Like, again, in Europe, if you're playing at a certain high level of in a pro league in Europe, you shouldn't be able to come to America and play college basketball. So I think there has to be a consistency, absolutely. There's got to be a consistent rule for both European and American players, or foreign and American players. But anyway. All right, we have basketball tonight, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip, South Carolina and Florida. Again, Florida, a heavy favorite. The Gamecocks start fast, just like you did against Oklahoma and LSU. Hit some threes, start to feel good. Got to keep Florida off the glass, especially the offensive glass, their offensive glass. And you got to hope Florida has a bad shooting night while you're having a really good shooting night. That's the formula tonight. Hopefully the Gamecocks can get it done. 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip right here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us as we roll all the way till 6 o'clock here on the Game. We will come back. There's coaching hires or a coaching hire in the NFL. That's interesting. And it's taken some people by surprise. But this guy might be better than people think. We'll get into it next. It is a post-game show. Cale's steering the ship. Terry Ford might have Jay after 5 right here on the Game and the Game Network. Post-game show. Terry Ford hanging out with you. We are rolling up until 6. Cale's here producing our little shindig today.
Try not to blow the building up.
Well, you know how much confidence I have in you. So far, you've survived almost half the show. Good work by you.
Well, I know I tell you this every time, but that big, giant, red self-destruct button that says do not push self-destruct is calling my name.
Well, you'll hit it at some point. You will.
Yeah.
I'm fully confident in you. All right, so Todd Monken gets hired as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns today. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I went, oh, really? It wasn't like, oh, my God, that's terrible. Oh, my God, what are they doing? They're the Browns. Nothing they do surprises you. It wasn't, I don't think Todd Monken is qualified to be a head coach. I just didn't think Todd Monken would get a head coaching gig. I just didn't. It's nothing against Todd Monken. I just think the way the NFL is set up, guys like Monken, who has never coached in a league, Monken is what, early 60s? I think. Let me see here. If I see it in the story. But Monken is not a young up-and-coming head coach candidate, and he's not a grizzled veteran with past head coaching experience in the league. Usually guys like Monken fall through the cracks. His age, his lack of NFL head coaching experience. But people forget something about Monken. Now, does this mean he's going to be a good head coach in the NFL? No, this does not mean that. First of all, who is he hired by? Yes, the Cleveland Dumpster Fires, owned by Truck Stop Jimmy. That hurts Monken in itself, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Monken was a head coach at Southern Miss between 2013 and 2015. In 2015, Monken turned around, and Southern Miss was just not in a good place as a program. Monken turned him around in that 3-year span, guided them to a 9-5 season and a bowl game appearance. And he was named Conference USA Coach of the Year. He then left to become the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was there for 3 years watching Jameis Winston throw the ball to the other team. But he did head coach for a short period of time and did a really nice job at Southern Miss. So he has coached. He has been a head coach. But since then, he's been an offensive coordinator. Tampa Bay, Georgia, when they won back-to-back national championships. The Ravens, where he did a heck of a job with Lamar Jackson the first 2 years they were together. Lamar put up filthy numbers with Todd Monken as the OC.
I feel like Lamar Jackson could put up filthy numbers with anyone.
No, not those numbers, man. Lamar couldn't throw the ball until Todd Monken showed up. Trust me, I covered it. The passing offense under Greg Roman was embarrassing. I remember Steve Smith Sr. went on the NFL Network and said it is the most rudimentary, elementary-looking passing offense schematically I've ever seen.
So it was the type of offense that you'd run when you're playing football at elementary school recess.
Yeah, Greg Cosell, who does a lot of breakdowns on the NFL, said it was an elementary passing offense. Schematically, route tree, everything was just awful. And then Todd Monken came in and brought in a real NFL passing game, and Lamar was an MVP, and the following year was even better, but didn't win the MVP award. Finished second to Josh Allen because they had to give Josh Allen one. And to be fair, Lamar's supporting cast was better. Let's just be fair. But Lamar's first 2 years under Monken were phenomenal. Monken's really good at offense. He's a heck of a play caller. He does have head coaching experience, just not in the NFL. People who laugh at this hire or are surprised and stunned by this hire, I don't think even know Monken was a head coach at any point in time. I think it's tough to be successful in Cleveland. Honestly, you could drop, I'm telling you, you could drop Bill Walsh, Vince Lombardi, Don Shula, all in Cleveland with that owner, and they won't win. It's just that guy has no idea how to run a franchise. So do I think Monken's successful? I don't know. Kevin Stefanski made the playoffs twice. But you still got to mess with Deshaun Watson, the dead money and all that stuff on your books, hurting your cap. You got an owner who's a goof. It's tough to win in Cleveland. So I don't know if Monken's going to be successful, but Monken, I'm not. The only reason I'm surprised by this hire is his age. Because typically, once you get to be a certain age, you don't get that first shot. So that surprised me. But Monken's he's got a good offensive mind. He was a successful head coach in college. He's been around the pro game for a while. I see why he got hired. Does that make sense? I just don't know if anybody can be successful in Cleveland. And here's the other thing, too, and this is not to be mean to Todd Monken, because I like Todd Monken. I think he's, again, a good coach. How many guys line up for the Cleveland Brown job that have any kind of resume? Exactly. None. If you got a resume, you're not taking the Cleveland Brown gig. And this might be the only head coaching job in the NFL that Todd Monken will ever get offered. So you absolutely take it. And for Todd Monken's sake, he can get over the fact that he's got that owner and he can be successful. We'll see. But if you're Cleveland, the really good coaches with the resumes want nothing to do with you. The real hot shot, young up-and-coming assistants can get a better gig than yours. So you roll the dice on Todd Monken and you hope it works. Because, you know, coaches hear stuff. They know the clown show that is the Cleveland Browns. You take that gig when it's the best gig that's been offered to you and you want to be an NFL head coach. That's what Todd Monken did. And that's not a criticism, because if I'm Todd Monken, I'm probably taking it too. Even though I know after I accept it and I'm all excited, I get congratulated because I'm now an NFL head coach, I'm getting in the car or my limo. And as I'm driving away from that complex, I'm going, oh my God, what have I just done to myself? Well, you know, I can do this for a couple of years and hopefully I'll make it work and I can rise above some of this ridiculousness. But if I can't, I can always go back and be a coordinator. Yeah, why not? That's got to run through your mind at some point because of the track record of the ownership and the Cleveland Browns franchise. But I think Todd Monken, good football coach, but I just think no one's set up to succeed in Cleveland for the long term. I just don't. All right, post-game show. Cale's here punching the buttons. Terry Ford getting you ready for Carolina basketball tonight. The men take the court. They will be facing 19th-ranked Florida. 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And Thursday, again, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip on our sister station, B1067. The women will take on Auburn. Again, that is Thursday on B106.7, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip. All right, we will jump back in here, talk a little about tonight's game with the Florida Gators with South Carolina, where the Gamecocks are so far this year in the SEC. More of the big picture look. We'll get that next here on the post-game show on The Game. Let's check the traffic. I'm just waiting for the old handy-dandy computer to reset. All right, traffic right now. We have a few accidents. Farrow Road at North Brickyard Road, also Garner's Ferry at I-77. 77 northbound at Blythewood Road, that's exit 27. Also 77 southbound at I-20, that's exit 16. And 77 southbound between Alexander's Bridge and 12th Street, also road construction, right lane closed, 77 northbound near Highway 200. Up next, we'll talk Gators and Gamecocks tonight at CLA next here on the Postgame Show. All right, tonight at CLA, we have Florida coming in to take on South Carolina Gamecocks. Gators are, they're 14-6 on the year, coming off of an upset loss at home versus Auburn. Florida's number 11 in KenPom, the analytic college basketball site that the industry uses. If you're going to tell you what the hell's a KenPom. Florida is top 20 on the offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. 18th in the country in offensive efficiency, 13th in defensive efficiency. Again, 11th overall, 70th in tempo, which means they're an above-average tempo team. They come in here, offensive rebound percentage, number 2 in the country. They're also number 2 in defensive rebounding percentage. So basically, they are the best rebounding team in America. They can't shoot threes, 350th in the country at 28.5%. The average is almost 34%. But they're top 35 in twos at 58%. Below average at the line. This is except for three-point shooting and really free throw shooting. It's a good basketball team on both ends of the court. And the thing about the twos, just shooting threes, probably 40% of their shots come from three-point range. So it's kind of a little bit below average. That's around average, I should say. And assist to field goal made is about average, so they pass it okay. The guard plays a big thing here, though. Xavier Lee transfer from the Ivy League and Boogie Flan transfer from Arkansas. Look, William Clayton last year was really good. That backcourt of Florida last season really stepped it up near the end of the year, into the postseason, into the NCAA tournament. And to go with this front court rotation, Florida wins a national championship. Your backcourt's gone. Clayton's going to the first-round pick in the NBA draft. Boogie Flan comes in from Arkansas. Xavier Lee comes in from the Ivy League. And they've been inconsistent. They just have been. Xavier Lee, I think, has been better than Boogie Flan. But the inconsistencies in the backcourt have really hurt Florida because that front court's excellent. That's what you're hoping for tonight, a bad night from the Florida backcourt. That's really what you're looking for here. And you got to keep the Gators off the offensive backboards. You can't let them get second and third chance opportunities. If Florida has a bad shooting night, the last thing you want is them, offensive rebound, dunk, layup. You want no part of that. You really don't. That's Florida in a nutshell. And South Carolina, like we said, you got to get off to a hot start. In your 2 conference wins, you were kicking threes. You got to be able to. You're going to lose the rebounding battle, most likely. You just can't get destroyed on the glass. You just can't. Florida this year, by the way, has thrown down 107 dunks.
107?
107 dunks.
I don't even know how to, the right word to describe that.
That seems to be a good amount of dunks.
Yeah.
South Carolina, in comparison, and obviously South Carolina struggled in the front court, South Carolina, 36 dunks.
Yikes.
So, again, Florida's got dudes in the front court. But look, we look at this team and where it's at. And this is a conversation not about Lamont Paris, because there's going to be a lot of Lamont Paris conversations. But the conversation I really think that we'll just kind of crack the door open a little bit, and we'll move on later in this conversation. But, a lot of the talk is about Lamont Paris and where this program is at under Lamont. 1 good year, 2 not very good years, and we're working on a 3rd not very good year. And there's folks who think if this thing doesn't get turned around, South Carolina might be looking for a basketball coach in the offseason. That's not what this conversation's about. This conversation is, what does South Carolina want to be in men's hoops? What do you want to be? It's out there. Multiple folks have reported South Carolina spent $4.5 million on their basketball program, their men's basketball program. That's the bottom of the SEC. But here's the sad part. Year before that, it was only $2 million. So you more than doubled how much you're spending, and it's still near the bottom, if not the bottom of the SEC. If you want to be consistently competitive at men's basketball, by the way, the only other revenue-generating sport in college athletics besides football, you're going to have to make a bigger financial commitment than $4.5 million. And maybe Jeremiah Donati's putting that together. Very sharp guy. We've had a chance to have a few conversations with the AD. Donati understands the world that it is today in modern college athletics. He totally gets it. He hired Jamie Dixon, who at TCU is Jamie Dixon's alma mater. I'm sure Jamie Dixon didn't go, don't worry about giving me any money. I'll be okay. I know some dudes down at the Y who can really ball. No. You had to commit resources. And TCU is a solid basketball program. Not great, not terrible. They made the NCAA tournament under Dixon. He's not a very good tournament coach. Look at his record. God love him. Since he sniffed that Final Four at Pitt where he got to the Elite Eight and lost to Villanova, he hasn't come close to that. But it's a good, solid basketball program. And in this world, you got to spend to have even a good, solid basketball program. And again, you've got to be able to, you've got to put money into any of these programs, football or men's basketball, if you want to get a return on your investment. And you can get a return on your investment in both those sports because they do generate revenue. But the point is, what's South Carolina going to do about investing more in the men's basketball program? Whether it's through rev share, because if you do like 25% of your rev share, it's about $5 million, $5.5 million. I mean, you got to get creative with the collective game. You got to be able to find other sources of cash. If you want to be good at men's basketball. Now, if you don't, okay, keep spending $4.5 million. It's just not going to get it done. You might catch lightning in a bottle every now and then, like 2 years ago. But if you want to be consistently good at men's basketball, you're going to have to probably spend roughly about $8 million. That's about the average from everything. And look, no one's got exact numbers because no one gives those numbers out. They're top secret in a safe guarded by Rottweilers and John Wick. So you don't know exact, but everything that you read or hear or is whispered, you roughly got to spend about $8 million on your men's basketball program. Kentucky's spending over 22, 24, whatever, depending on reports you want to read. You're not doing that, but the sweet spot's around $8 million. South Carolina's spending a little bit more than half of that. So no matter who the coach is, it could be is Lamont Paris, Paris Hilton, who knows, whoever your coach is, you're going to have to give them resources to be able to spend money to put together a roster to be competitive. And look, the money doesn't do everything. Look at Kentucky this year. They're underwhelming. And nobody spent more money in the SEC than the Wildcats. So just spending money doesn't do it. But spending money, a decent amount of money, spending it correctly, bringing in the right players for the right mix with some development, scheme that works, whatever. It all meshes, but you got to spend the money to bring in the talent. And then you got to obviously coach it, put it in the right position to succeed, and have talent that fits whatever you want to do as a basketball coach. And obviously, you're hoping fits your culture. But you got to spend the money. And that's got to be a decision that, needs to be made. And if you don't, you want to stay around this $4.5 million, okay. Like I said, every now and then you'll fall into a season and, wow, how about those guys? Woo, shock the world, baby. But you're going to have more seasons like you're seeing now than you are going to have wow seasons because, again, in this world today, when you're spending near the bottom of your league, that's kind of the return you're going to get. I mean, look at the roster. I mean, Michi's been really good lately, but Michi is good Michi, bad Michi, bad Michi, good Michi. On a really good team, Michi's probably your third option. It's just reality. Right now, you don't have a big, you have an interior game. You don't have a point guard. You don't have that lockdown defender. Miles Studi's a good defender, but you don't have that lockdown defender. There's just pieces you're missing, and we sit and we go, well, what's up? Well, what's up? You don't have this, and this. Well, part of it, not all of it, but part of it is, you got to spend more money to go get some of this stuff. You just do that. Can you build a better roster with $4.5 million than Lamont has? I don't know. Maybe part of that's Lamont just didn't go out and get the right dudes, or maybe he focused on the wrong dudes. I don't know. But at the end of the day, $4.5 million, your window for missing is not very big because you don't have a lot of money to play with. It's sort of like small market baseball team that's got a really small payroll and a really small budget. You can't swing and miss on what you do in the offseason because then you're going to stink. So moving forward after this season, no matter what happens with South Carolina men's basketball, unless we have a dramatic turnaround in the second half of this conference season, when you're making decisions about the basketball program, the biggest decision is, are we going to up how much we invest in men's basketball? Because the other part is, we'll save that for later. But you've just got to, that's got to be a conversation. And that's a big deal here as we sit and see South Carolina struggling for the third year out of 4 with Lamont as a head coach. Just saying. So I'm not saying Lamont's blameless or the players are blameless, but also you got to look at how much you're investing in the program. Just saying. All right. Cale's here. Terry Ford. We're rolling the post-game show. Mike McCarthy, very emotional in his introduction with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to hear that coming up. And also Josh Pate. Excellent job with his CBS Sports college football podcast. Whether you agree or disagree with him, it's an interesting listen and watch. Josh Pate talks about targeting. Because we got new targeting rules, kind of, maybe sort of. It's a post-game show. All that coming up next here on The Game and the Game Network. Postgame show. Terry Ford, Cale's here, punching the buttons for us, getting us through the day. So far, hasn't broken anything. It's always good. We are here till 6.
Don't say that yet.
I know, I shouldn't have ruined the juju by saying it out loud.
Yeah, show's not over yet.
We still got plenty of time. 5 o'clock news coming up for integrated media here in just a little bit. We will hear Mike McCarthy's emotional moment at the his press conference being introduced as a Steeler head coach from yesterday. But right now, get cut 7, Cale. Josh Pate was doing his podcast, and targeting is going to get reevaluated by the folks in the college football world. And look, for me, the thing about targeting is, look, if you hurl yourself like a missile, helmet first, at a player, that's a 15-yard penalty. That absolutely is targeting. But if you're trying to make a tackle, and last time I checked, the offensive player does not want you to make a tackle, and he's trying to get out of your way, and he's moving, and he's ducking, and he's spinning, and you, in the midst of trying to make this tackle, accidentally hit him above the neck, that's not the same as hurling yourself as a human spear or a human missile at a defenseless player. I think there are 2 levels of targeting. That second level might not even be targeting. If you want to say you hit a player above the neck in the process of trying to make a tackle, and you want to continue to penalize getting guys hit in the neck and head area, okay, but it's not the same as targeting and getting ejected. Josh Pate threw his 2 cents in on his CBS Sports College Football podcast. Hit it.
The problem is no one knows what targeting is. We do have rules, and there are parameters and bullet points and indicators. Those are all written down. No one knows when they see it. Imagine, we're going to eject kids from games, but we don't really know what we're ejecting them for. There's no consistency in the way it's applied. Even conference to conference, the thing's enforced differently.
Yeah, look, it's like I said, there's different levels of this, and I think they had it all in one bucket, which wasn't fair. And yeah, they do a video review, and we've seen it get overturned a good bit, like this past year where it's like there was no targeting. And I agree with Josh Pate to a point that it is kind of a murky, gray, muddy rule. But I think when we see it, we know it at times, right? Like I said, when you hurl yourself at a defenseless receiver head first, that's obviously a targeting call.
One targeting call that wasn't called was in the national championship game when Fernando Mendoza was carrying out that fake.
That's the point. He got hit in the head, right?
Yeah.
That's targeting. But then are you going to say, well, he was now running the ball? That's where I think it's muddy and murky. He's a runner, so it's a different set of rules. The NFL, when a quarterback takes off, all the rules of pocket protection are gone. So to your point, yes, Mendoza, that should have been a 15-yard flag. That was a no-brainer. But it wasn't called. But then you see sometimes these moments where a defender is coming up trying to make a tackle, offensive player is trying to cut away from him. So all of a sudden the defender who can't move like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix hits the ball carrier in the headgear area and the targeting. Is that really targeting? No, it's a dude trying to make a play. So again, I get it. Safety's important. I get it. You want to take the helmet out of the tackle. I understand all of it. But the rule they just have to refigure the rule. To where when you and I are watching the game, well, that was targeting. Absolutely. That's really where it should be. And the other murky, muddy, whatever moments, if a guy's just trying to make a tackle, he's trying to make a tackle. And I don't know if you can penalize a guy for targeting when he's going to make a play, and the offensive player, by him trying to avoid the tackle, causes a targeting. That's the issue to me. So we'll see what they end up doing. But that might be on the agenda as things move forward. What are you going to do about targeting? because, again, I don't think all targeting is equal. That's just me. All right, coming up, our 5 o'clock news, sponsored by our buddies Integrated Media. We will hear Mike McCarthy talk about being the new Steeler head coach. Of course, McCarthy, a Pittsburgher, coming back to coach the hometown team. So we'll hear Mike McCarthy's emotional moments as a new head coach in Pittsburgh. Also, the conference championship ratings, the AFC and the NFC, how'd they go? How good were they? How bad were they? We'll get into that. Come next, the 5 o'clock news here on the game. And tonight, again, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip. Number 19, Florida, coming into CLA. I'm sorry, I do it like those pukey announcers. Number 19, Florida invades the Colonial Life Arena tonight to take on your Gamecocks. God,
That was good. That was good.
So cheesy.
Very cheesy, but good.
Number 19, Florida, showing up to town, take on South Carolina, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip, right here on the game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. 5 o'clock news and the traffic next here on the game and the Game Network. All righty. A few accidents piling up on the roadways. I-77 southbound at I-20 exit 16. 77's a mess. Again, 77 southbound near I-20 exit 16. Also, 77 northbound at the Blythewood Road exit. That's exit 21. Garner's Ferry Road at I-77, also an accident. A disabled vehicle with the right lane blocked, 77 southbound between Alexander's Bridge, Congaree River and 12th Street, and also exit 2. You got all that? Yes, that's where that disabled vehicle is. Also, Faro Road at North Brickyard Road, we have an accident as well. We'll get back in here. 5 o'clock news sponsored by Integrated Media. More NFL coaching talk and some conference championship ratings. That's next. All right, 5 o'clock news, sponsored by Bud's Integrated Media here on the Postgame Show. All right, the NFL, AFC, and NFC championship game ratings are out. And this is how sick the ratings are for the NFL. I'll give you some numbers. All right, first of all, Patriots and Broncos average 48.6 million viewers, up 10% from last year's NFC Championship game. That was at the same time when the Eagles were victorious over the Commanders. That contest in the snow peaked with the audience of almost 58 million viewers, the most watched playoff game of the season. The Denver-New England game also completed what was the most watched NFL season ever for CBS. They, per game, averaged 23.1 million viewers. Fox said it averaged 46.1 million viewers for the Seahawks win over the Rams. You're like, wow, Tara, 46.1 million, that's really good, right? Oh, that's down 20% from the AFC Championship game that was on the same time in that window, where the Chiefs won and moved on to the Super Bowl, beating the Bills. Yes, you averaged 46 million for the NFC Championship game, which was really good. The Rams and Seahawks was a hell of a football game. But because the Chiefs are must-see TV, and it was Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and all that stuff, even you averaged 46 million viewers, and that was down 20%.
I think we all know why the Chiefs had such a high viewership rate.
Sure. Taylor Swift.
Of course.
Absolutely. The Swifties were all on it. By the way, so combined, the average of 47.4 million was down 7% from last year. You almost averaged 50 million viewers a game, and it was down 7% from last year. And by the way, the least watched title game Sunday since 2021. That's how crazy NFL ratings are. That's insane. Anyway.
I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, every other sport would take it. Every other sport would kill for an average viewership of like 47, 48 million.
Exactly.
Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, professional soccer, everybody's going, man, I'd kill for that. I'm talking professional soccer in the U.S. So anyway, wow, that's crazy. All right, we talked about Mike McCarthy getting the job in Pittsburgh, his hometown, becoming the Steelers head coach. McCarthy was introduced to the media yesterday in Pittsburgh, and old coach got a little choked up. Hit it.
I understand and embrace the responsibility, the privilege, and the weight that comes with this stewardship. This city, this franchise, this fan base means the world to me. Because Pittsburgh's my world, and it's just awesome to be back here.
Yeah, he's a Pittsburgher. He worked I think he used to work the toll booths when he was young.
I was about to say that would be the only reason why him getting emotional would make sense.
Right.
Because he was the head coach for the most valuable sports franchise in the nation. and
Yeah.
arguably the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's his hometown. He grew up in Pittsburgh. He's going to get a chance to coach the Steelers,
Yeah, that
And-
that makes sense.
and he's a little choked up.
So I'm
It's-
happy for the guy.
Yeah, look, we talked about this yesterday with Mike McCarthy. Look, some of his in-game decision-making makes you want to beat your head against the wall. But McCarthy is just as successful as Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. It's just McCarthy doesn't come off as cool as Tomlin. Comes off a little clunky with the media. But Mike Tomlin, they didn't win a playoff game in 10 years. John Harbaugh's won 3 playoff games in 12 years, roughly. Mike McCarthy has a better postseason record than Tomlin and right around the same as Harbaugh. No, McCarthy couldn't win in Dallas in the postseason, but was the first coach since Jimmy Johnson to win consistently and make the playoffs. He's a good football coach. Is he going to take Pittsburgh to the next level to get to Super Bowls? Who's quarterback in the team? Is it going to be 90-year-old Aaron Rodgers? Then the answer is no. I mean, at some point, Pittsburgh has got to get the quarterback right. I don't care who the head coach is. It really doesn't matter. You can't win in the NFL by patchworking the quarterback position.
When was the last time the Steelers had a game-changing quarterback?
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger in his prime.
Yeah, I was about to say, because they had Roethlisberger like not too long ago, but he was past his prime.
I mean, Roethlisberger the last 2 or 3 years he played was obviously getting old. But when Ben was in his prime, you saw how good the Steelers were. But here's the thing. The Steelers didn't win a playoff game in Roethlisberger's last, 7, 8 years as their quarterback. There were years they missed the playoffs. So a lot of people are putting this into, just the quarterback with Tomlin. I think that was a huge problem. But he wasn't winning playoff games with Ben. But to me, if you're going to say what's the biggest issue, even bigger than Mike Tomlin, bigger than Mike McCarthy, bigger than anything, is you got to get the quarterback right. You just do. And then everything else will fall into place of what you get from your head coach. But it's hard to judge, ever since Ben left, what they've been doing in Pittsburgh, you're just not going to win with that quarterback situation. So I think, put it this way. All right, with Mike Tomlin, the quarterback was a huge deal, but also Tomlin was much more successful earlier in his career with that collection of players that were handed to him from Bill Cowher. And as it became more of Tomlin's team, they became less successful. Then you add in the quarterback, and you don't win a playoff game for almost a decade. So McCarthy's going to come in. You got a little bit of weaponry on offense. Your offensive line has gotten better. But until you get the quarterback right, nothing matters. Defensively, you're getting a little old. Not as good as you were. Still good enough on defense, though, to hang in there. But again, this all goes back to getting the quarterback right. Then, God forbid, you might win a playoff game. So we'll see. But Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh, introduced to the media yesterday, getting all choked up. And,
Is T.J. Watt going into his 9th or 8th year in the league?
It's around there. And he's not as good as he used to be. He's been hurt a bit. I mean, he's still good. But a few years ago, man, he was a wrecking machine.
Yeah.
He's just not. I mean, again, he's getting older. He's had some injuries. Like I'm saying, that defense, it's had to carry this offense for years. Those guys are getting tired. They're getting old and they're getting beat up.
Yeah, I mean, come to think of it, again, T.J. Watt's getting old. Hayward is getting old. And then Jalen Ramsey's getting old.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey moved to safety because he can't play corner anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, just everything is starting to escalate in Pittsburgh with having the defense to carry that offense because you haven't had a quarterback.
I'm interested to see how the draft goes for them.
Well, they're picking 21st, I believe, if my memory serves me.
Well, my Panthers don't pick much higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, if and quarterback-wise, you're not going to have anybody at 21 that's going to be a wow guy. You're just not. And so, again, what are you going to do about quarterback? You're going to bring back Aaron Rodgers? Okay, whatever.
Go
have at it.
9-7 again or 9-8.
Exactly. See, Watt's been in the league 3, 5. He's been the year 9 years. Next season will be Watt's 10th year. And Watt's 31 years old. Again, not getting any younger. And Watt, has been nicked up. He's had some, last year played in 14 of 17 games, battled injuries the previous couple years, but did post for 17. Then had 2 years where he had some injuries. It just, again, the guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I shouldn't say that. We don't know who a first ballot Hall of Famer is anymore. But T.J. Watt has been a phenomenal player. But again,
surely a phenomenal player or a phenomenal coach would be a first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
You would think.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
And let's get to that real quick. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick's former quarterback, joined the chorus of voices questioning Belichick's snub to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, according to ESPN, saying the committee's voting decision was completely ridiculous. Brady was on Seattle Sports Radio 710 a.m. and said, quote, "I don't understand it. I mean, I was with Bill every day. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's really no coach that ever should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is completely ridiculous because people deserve it. He's incredible. There's no coach I'd rather play for. If I'm picking one coach to go out there and win a Super Bowl with, give me one season, I'm taking Bill Belichick."
That sounds pretty accurate.
A lot of folks are agreeing with this perception. It's, again, we talked about it yesterday when it popped. We talked about it on the 3 o'clock hour here. This makes the Hall of Fame look stupid and ridiculous, and it's an embarrassment. If you're the NFL, this is embarrassing to your quote-unquote shield. It just is.
Shield.
And look, Bill will get in next year because you just wanted to prove a point. You wanted to stick it to him, whatever it was, because nobody's admitting anything. Look, so far, nobody's admitted they didn't vote for him. And I get it. But you know what else would be very interesting? If the voting for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if they published who voted. That would have changed this, I think. Guys know in that room, the people that voted, they know that this is not going to be made public. If these votes were made public, I don't think this happens. Because, again, you look like a goof. How many times when you see, because, look, to the credit of the voters for college basketball polls and college football polls, that stuff's out there. It gets out there. And people have to, you make a vote, and if it's some people do goofy votes on purpose because, they want to get their 15 minutes. But if this would have been put out there to where the public and the media could see who voted and who didn't vote for Belichick and all that, if the people that are doing the voting knew it was public knowledge, would they have done this? My guess is no. That's my guess. But hey, they stuck it to Bill, baby. They made Bill Belichick sympathetic. How about that?
Yeah, we'll show him. We'll make him wait an extra year to be put in the Hall of Fame.
He just goes in.
That'll show him.
Exactly. One last note in the 5 o'clock news sponsored by our pals at Integrated Media. Two-time MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. It looks like there's a really good chance Giannis will get traded. The trade deadline's February 5th. Several teams have made aggressive offers for Giannis. Now, Giannis has an injury issue. I think it's a calf. But multiple teams have received a sense that the Bucks are more open than ever to trade Giannis, or at least accept offers or listen to offers between now and the deadline. Milwaukee's also indicated to interested teams that the organization is not in a rush to make this move and might even wait till the offseason. The price point, blue chip young talent, surplus of draft picks is what the Bucks want. Now, Giannis, again, there's a little injury issue this year a couple different times. Giannis, another guy, not getting any younger. Antetokounmpo is 31 years old. Remember, he came in the league as like an 18-year-old. Has been around, he's played, 13 seasons? Something like that. And Giannis, his style of play is very physical. A lot of athleticism. So you've only probably got a couple of years of Giannis in his athletic prime. Now, Can Giannis work on some things that maybe he hasn't worked on enough because he's so freakishly athletic for his size? Possibly. But Giannis's game is athleticism.
Yeah, I remember seeing him get a rebound, and he went from one end of the court to the other, taking it on a fast break dunk, and I think he got there in 5 steps.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Giannis is just 7 foot tall and just an athletic weirdo.
The Bucks this year are 15-15 with him, but 3-12 without him.
Someone's going to make this move, and really Milwaukee's the point that you got to make this move. It's done. The Giannis era is over, but you can't make a dumb trade. You got to try to get his young players and a surplus of draft picks. All right, it's 5 o'clock news sponsored by Integrated Media. Up next, the Gamecock Notebook right here on your home of the Gamecocks, by the way. 107.5 The Game and the Game Network. Time to pop open the Gamecock notebook here on the Postgame Show. Terry Ford, Cale here helping us out, producing our little get-together. We're hoping maybe we can hear from Jay between now and 6 o'clock. We'll see. As Jay taking care of some of the things he needs to take care of as he moves forward with his process of handling everything that goes with the bladder cancer issue that Jay has. Hopefully within a couple of months, we'll get Jay back to normal, get him back in, or whatever the normal will be for him moving forward, and get him in the studio. That's the goal. And Jay will be back. If we don't get him between now and 6 today, we'll have him tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock. All right. Gamecock notebook. South Carolina football defensive assistant Jordan Dove will now be the new assistant coach for defensive tackles at Kansas State. Dove, remember, stepped in because Travion Robertson has been out because of the accident. So Dove, I mean, look, he did solid work, man, stepping in for Robertson. And that has now turned into him getting a gig at Kansas State as defensive tackles coach. So good for Jordan Dove. Now, Robertson will be returning to his usual role with the Gamecocks, which is good news, obviously. Now, Dove has always been a Gamecock, former graduate assistant, in addition to being the interim defensive line coach. So it'll be his first non-Gamecock gig. So good for Jordan Dove. And Robertson coming back. Look, the defensive line, the defensive tackles and the defensive line was not an issue. Some guys stepped in, like Nick Barrett, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, Monkel Goodwine. They held their own last year. So Dove did nice work, and now he parlays it into a defensive tackle coaching job at Kansas State. All right, in case you didn't hear earlier, the news for Carolina baseball, not good. Opening day, 16 days away. Jake McCoy, lefty, 14 starts last year, which led the Gamecocks. McCoy's out for the year with Tommy John surgery, tore his UCL. Now, McCoy, you know, again, good stuff. Probably had the best arm of any of the starters last year. Struck out 77 in 60 innings, 60-plus innings, but also walked 40. So command is an issue. But McCoy, again, excellent arm, a top 100 prospect for the upcoming draft next summer. 62 ranked overall prospect in the pipeline, the MLB pipeline top 100. That basically would get you roughly probably somewhere in the second round if you went by how that slots out. Possible replacements in the rotation: Amp Williams, Riley Goodman, Alex Philpott, Bradley Hodges, and Josh Gunther. And again, Gamecock baseball, every game you'll hear right here, either on the game in Columbia, in Myrtle Beach, or possibly on one of our sister stations. Because remember, we're going to have baseball, men's basketball in the SEC tournament, women's basketball, postseason. So we'll be doing the dance coming up here in March. All right, Gamecock Notebook is open here on the game. We're getting visits for South Carolina football. Ready for this? Class of 2027. Just say that out loud makes you feel old.
It's making me feel old.
I was going to say, even you, and you're like 15. Okay, 16. All right.
I'd rather go back to being 21.
Not to be mean, dude. I have socks older than you. All right, South Carolina, they extended a scholarship offer to Orlando, Florida, Jones High School out of Orlando, Florida, pass rusher Frederick Ards, 4-star prospect. South Carolina is one of his 5 finalists to go with Florida State, Florida, Bama, and Texas A&M. Ards has over 20 Power Conference offers. And he will now have his official visit to South Carolina coming up. The date for that again, I had it right in front of me. June 19th to 21st. Frederick Ards will be in Columbia. Again, 4-star, 2027. Ooh, makes you feel old. All right, so South Carolina, the men, 11-9 overall, 2-5 in SEC play. Their net ranking, which is along with Ken Palm and some other metrics, is used when looking at the postseason. South Carolina has kind of been, yo-yoing back and forth. Started the year at 99. They've moved up, they've moved down. Right now they're sitting at 91. That's 15th in the SEC, only ahead of Mississippi State. And that's it. And speaking of Ken Palm rankings, South Carolina, they were in the 70s for a minute, and they still are at 76. 84th offense, 83rd defense. South Carolina, by the analytic metrics that Ken Palm does, they have the Gamecocks winning 2 more conference games by their projections, beating Missouri at home and beating Mississippi State at home. So you're looking at, by the projections of Ken Palm, a 4-win SEC season, again, if you go by that. So the net rankings have South Carolina worse than Ken Palm. And, of course, South Carolina's men tonight, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip against Florida, right here on the game in Columbia and Myrtle Beach as well. The women, by the way, they'll go at it tomorrow night against Auburn. That game, again, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip on our sister station, B1067. So there's your check of the old Gamecock Notebook. We'll come back, a drive around the SEC. A high-level basketball recruit has committed to an SEC school. We'll get to that coming back next year on the postgame show on the Game and the Game Network. We're talking Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. All right, quick check on the traffic. We have some road construction all over the place, obviously, like usual. Just between I-126 and Hugie and 26, and I-26 between Bush River Road and Old Sandy Run Road, I-20 between I-26, Broad River Road exit 64 and 65, and I-20 Sunset Boulevard and Bush River Road between those two exits. All right, disabled vehicle, right lane is blocked, I-77 southbound between the Alexanders Bridge and 12th Street. Also 77 southbound, we have an accident there at the I-20 exit 16. I-77 northbound, Blythewood Road, that's exit 27, accident. Gardner's Ferry Road at 77. And Farrow Road at Brickyard Road, plus road construction, right lane closed, 77 northbound between Highway 200 and Great Falls Highway. Coming back, we'll take a drive around the SEC, what happened last night in hoops and what's going to happen tonight in the Southeastern Conference. All right, time to do a little drive around the SEC. Hoops last night, man. I mean, a couple of matchups you thought might have the potential to be decent. Well, one you didn't think was going to be as decent as it was. Another you thought was going to be decent and it wasn't. How's that sound? We'll start with the one we thought was going to be really good. Number 18, Vandy, hosting Kentucky. The Wildcats, weird year. Not as good offensively as they typically have been. A little bit better defensively than they were last year. But just they have trouble putting together 40 minutes. They got smoked last night in Nashville by number 18, Vandy.
Yeah, Vandy took them to the woodshed. And they had like a little skid, too. Vandy did.
It was right from the get-go, too, last night. That was a 40-minute whooping.
I don't know if you saw the clip, but there was a little clip, and I don't remember the players' names, but one of the Kentucky players inbounded the ball. And without even noticing, he just has the ball, and he walks out of bounds because he thought he was inbounding it, and it resulted in a turnover.
Yeah, that's just, you can't have that happen. And it happened. That happened to South Carolina in the Texas game, the women. I forgot which South Carolina player did. Was it Raven Johnson? I forgot one. Just they screwed up the inbound like that. It's so like ingrained in your head as a basketball player, that basic inbound. And yet it got screwed up last night by Kentucky. Look, Kentucky was, I don't know where Kentucky was last night in their head, but they weren't on the court against Vanderbilt. Like you said, some mental mistakes, a lot of physical mistakes, and Vanderbilt just trucked them. 80-55. Look, I'm going to say this. Mark Pope might be one of them, one of their own in Lexington. But that fan base and that athletic department and that university, they're not going to put up with a lot of this. Mark Pope last year was a good season, not a great season, a good season. This year has been underwhelming.
The Cats play their old coach Calipari this weekend at Arkansas in Fayetteville, so I'm wondering if they had their minds stuck on that.
Well, you
shouldn't have, because you played a top 25 team on the road.
You're playing a really good team. You're right. I'll say this, though. If you go, and Arkansas has been really good at home this year. So Kentucky could run into a buzzsaw in Fayetteville if they don't get their head out of their lower extremities. But this is not setting up to be a year at Kentucky that anybody expected. No one's saying they're going to win the national championship or go to a Final Four. They should be a heck of a lot better than what they've been this year. And Vandy, that was man. Woo! What a can they broke out on Kentucky last night.
They play again at the end of February.
We'll see what happens. That game will be at Rupp. Number 15, Arkansas goes to Oklahoma. Again, the Razorbacks are excellent at home, not as good on the road. And they kind of played with their food last night in Norman. Oklahoma only lost by 4. Arkansas screwed around in this game and screwed around, and give Oklahoma credit for how well they played. But Arkansas hangs in for an 83-79 victory. One reason is Darius Acuff is just so good. 21 points, 9 assists last night. 7 of 16 from the floor. You'd like a little bit better than that. Only 1 of 4 for 3, but the 9 assists, by the way, 0 turnovers.
And 6 for 7 at the free throw line.
Acuff can play, man. Acuff can play. He is the real deal. And Arkansas holds on to get the win. Oklahoma's 1-7 in the league, 11-10 overall. We've talked about this. Porter Moser is starting to dip into that dangerous territory of job security at Oklahoma. Also, last night, Missouri traveled to Tuscaloosa. We saw this coming. We said this last night. Alabama was angry after losing at home to Tennessee, and they took it out on Missouri 90-64 last night.
If this game was in Columbia, Missouri, it would have been entertaining, I think. But with it being played in Tuscaloosa,
yeah, it just was. You got a very angry Alabama team, a Missouri squad, jumping on the road. We're in league play. They've lost at LSU. They've lost at Ole Miss. They did beat Kentucky on the road, though. But they said so. Again, they're a little bit below 500 on the road in league play. Alabama's typically really good at home. They got remember, they had their second, third leading scorers out for the Tennessee game over the weekend. Those guys were back. Alabama was kind of at full strength-ish, and they just took it to Missouri. 90-64 was the final. All right, tonight in the SEC, obviously South Carolina hosting Florida. 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip here on the game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. Other games in the SEC tonight. Auburn, coming off that upset of Florida in Gainesville over the weekend, will host Texas. Two teams who are, like my son would say, they're mid.
Texas, though, has played, pretty good recently, at least scoring-wise.
Well, they have. It's interesting. Texas is only 12-8, I believe it is, and they're right around 500 in league play, 3-4. But they have wins over ranked teams. They beat number 21 Georgia, number 10 Vandy, number 13 Alabama. They have got W's over ranked teams. It's the teams that are unranked. A&M got them. Kentucky got them. Mississippi State got them.
That was a shootout.
And that game was at Texas. So Texas is kind of a weird team. You don't know what personality is going to show up. They're like the dude from the movie Split.
Yeah.
So Texas going to Auburn. Auburn has been underachieving all year, but the game is on the Plains. It's a phenomenal home court advantage. That's tonight, 7 o'clock tip on ESPN2. SEC Network has Tennessee and Georgia. Neither team is now ranked. Both teams have spent most of the year ranked. I'm not going to say this is a big, large game, but Tennessee's got some momentum after beating Bama and Tuscaloosa. Georgia is 3-3 in their last 6 games. You would like, if you're Tennessee, you want to build upon that win over Alabama. If you're Georgia, you want to get out of this funk that you've been in. But Tennessee, to be fair, is 3-3 in their last 6 games.
Vols are favored by 1.5.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's good. I think it's going to be a good game in Athens. That game's 7 o'clock, SEC Network. The other tilt, you want to talk about two teams trying to keep their head above water so they don't drown, and right now they've got cement shoes. LSU 1-6 in the SEC, Mississippi State 2-5 in the SEC. They go at it in Baton Rouge.
I think, personally, again, I know we said both teams are trying to keep their head above water, but I think Mississippi State needs it more.
Well, LSU has lost 7 of their last 8. Their only win was home against Missouri.
Which was a surprising win.
Yeah, because Missouri's look, LSU.
They're better than LSU.
Yeah, they are on paper. LSU went out in the portal and added a bunch of players, just hasn't worked. Matt McMahon is probably going to get fired at the end of the year. You've lost 7 of 8. Mississippi State, Chris Jan's a good coach who's been to the NCAA tournament. He was there last year with Mississippi State. Right now, the Bulldogs are on a 5-game losing streak. One team's lost 7 of 8. One team's lost 5 in a row. You can't have a tie.
No.
Someone's actually going to get back on the good side. Both teams need a W really bad.
I think the reason why I thought Mississippi State needs it more is because they're trying not to fall below 500.
Yeah, they're 10-10. LSU 13-7. It's funny. LSU was 12-1 going into SEC play. People thought they'd be better than they were last year. So far, they're not. Mississippi State, though, was only 8-5. Mississippi State has it's been the struggle bus since the start of the season for the Bulldogs. And you're right, they could fall below 500 with a loss. That game, 7 o'clock on SEC+. The SEC standings this week as we roll through the midweek in the Southeastern Conference. Texas A&M sitting in first place at 6-1. Arkansas 6-2. Florida 5-2. Vandy and Kentucky are 5-3. Georgia, Bama, Auburn 4-3. Mizzou is 4-4. Tennessee 3-3. Texas 3-4. Ole Miss 3-4. Then South Carolina, Mississippi State at 2-5. LSU 1-6. And the Sooners at 1-7. If you look at South Carolina's schedule real quick, you get ranked Florida. Then after ranked Florida, at home you face LSU. Then you go on the road to Texas, and you're home against unranked Missouri. So after you play Florida at home, you play 3 unranked teams, 2 of them in your barn. If you're going to make any hay in this season, if you're going to get any traction, if you're going to do anything at all, this is the time to get it going. You're probably going to lose tonight to a good Florida team. But then you have 3 unranked squads and 2 of them at home. You have number 23 Bama, number 19 Florida in Gainesville. Then you get 3, 4, 5 teams that right now are unranked. Mississippi State, I think, is going to be unranked all year. Kentucky, they can't get out of their own way. You go to Georgia. Georgia's good. Tennessee at home. Tennessee's had your number a lot in the last few years. Then you travel to Ole Miss, and Chris Beard is losing his mind about how Ole Miss has been playing. So your schedule from after you play Florida, you've got 2 ranked teams left on your schedule. Point being is if you can get anything going on with consistency on offense, if you can get better in the interior on both ends of the court, maybe you can win a few. That's what I'm trying to say. Am I confident in that? Probably not. I'm just saying the schedule is not a bear, is not a killer. Because some of those teams go on a heater and be ranked when you play them, sure. But the schedule is, you got, 3 games with 3 ranked teams left. All right, we'll do a little Jay versus the internet. I'll look at the wagering angle of tonight's sporting events. We'll get into that. Also, we'll circle back to maybe some things we haven't gotten to yet today, including a phenomenal college basketball game last night between 2 top 5 teams in Ann Arbor. That was something, man. We got that and a couple of football notes before we get out here on the postgame show. Cale, Terry, till 6 on the game. we'll do a little Jay versus the internet here on the postgame show. Take a look at the SEC games for tonight. All right, Mississippi State and LSU. LSU is a 7.5-point favorite at home against Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State will cover the 7.5. Even if LSU wins, I think it's going to be closer than 7.5. I will take the Bulldogs to cover the 7.5. Tennessee at Georgia. Tennessee, a 1.5 favorite in Athens. I think Tennessee wins the game.
Really?
I like the way they played against Bama, even though I know Bama was shorthanded. I like how they're using the freshman Ahmed at the 3. I think Tennessee wins at Georgia. I'll go with that. Well, you're a Georgia fan. You can't.
Whoa,
you're not
you're just
objective.
you're gonna expose me on the air like that?
Yeah, you're not objective. You can't.
Dude, I was actually gonna agree with you.
Were you?
Yes.
Okay, then you can pick it.
I was gonna give my pick for the Mississippi State game too. I do think Mississippi State goes and wins that.
Yeah, I just look. Jans is a good coach. That thing's gone sideways this year for some reason. I think Mississippi State's are gritty and they play defense, and even though they're not playing to the level that they did last year, I think they go in there. I just don't think LSU's very tough. I don't know.
So I think State wins, and then my key to the game for Georgia Tennessee is how good Samto Sorrell plays for Georgia.
That's fair.
And Blue Cane. Blue Cane kind of had an off game against Texas. He didn't really score, I don't think, until the second half.
Well, obviously, when he's making threes, they're a better team.
Definitely.
It's funny. I talk about LSU. The analytic crew loves LSU. They're 43rd in the country in Ken Palm. Mississippi State is like in the 80s or 94. But I just think Mississippi State, they're not as good as they were last year, but I think there's a ruggedness that Jans brings his teams. LSU just doesn't come off very, very rugged and mentally tough. So I think Mississippi State will go in there and get a win.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, Auburn hosting Texas. Auburn 6.5-point favorite. Auburn had a nice win on Saturday. They have the better record. They might be better on paper. Texas this year, they do have a win at Bama, obviously.
The Jungle's a hard place to play, though, man.
It is, man. It really is. I'm going to take Auburn at home to cover the number.
Give me the Tigers.
All right, so there's a little Jay versus the internet real fast. Couple of notes before we get out of here. The Indiana Hoosiers schedule came out for next year football. The defending national champions. Ready? Okay, obviously they're going to knock down some little Debbie cakes. North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky. Then they get ready. Here's their Big Ten schedule. Northwestern, Rutgers, Nebraska. They're at Nebraska. Okay. Northwestern at home, at Rutgers, at Nebraska. Home against Ohio State, at Ann Arbor to face Michigan back-to-back weeks. Then they host Minnesota. They host Southern Cal. They go to UW to face Washington. They're home to Purdue. That's not a rugged schedule. I mean, you get Ohio State, but you get them in Bloomington. I don't know what Michigan's going to be. I think they're going to be pretty good under Kyle Whittingham.
Michigan is going to be
We'll see.
pretty good. Like, they'll be like top 20, top 15 under Kyle Whittingham, but I think that's their ceiling.
Yeah, look, he's a good coach.
He's a great coach.
I think in year one, that's kind of, I don't disagree with you. That's where they could be. And that game is in Ann Arbor.
Their defense is going to be astounding again.
It's just, can you get the offense together? You got a quarterback in Underwood with a ton of potential.
He's got a year under his belt.
Yeah, he does. And he's got a lot of physical gifts. He's going to be able to throw the football better. Southern Cal at home. You got to go to UW to play Washington and Seattle. That's a little tricky. But this schedule does not make you go, oh, my God, what a minefield. But that's Indiana's schedule. It's funny to get Ohio State, Michigan back-to-back weeks.
UW is an underrated environment, I've heard. I've heard that as a ranked team, it's hard to play there.
I'm going to tell you this. I lived in Seattle for 2 years. They love Washington Husky football. It is a underratedly tough place to play.
So it sounds like they party all day, go to Washington Husky games, and then the next day they just keep partying and go to Seahawk games.
Absolutely. And then throw up violently on Sunday night.
Yes.
All right. I want to get this in real quick. Nebraska got their first loss last night in Ann Arbor, a game they led for like 38 minutes. Michigan finally got them at the end, 75-72. But Nebraska was missing two of their top six players and two very important pieces in Renk Most and Braden Frager. Nebraska, shorthanded, went to Ann Arbor. I think Michigan's phenomenal. And Nebraska almost beat Michigan shorthanded. I'm going to tell you, man, don't sleep on the Huskers.
I am going to give a bold prediction here. So Nebraska and Michigan, unless they're somehow in the same bracket, are going to play each other for the Big Ten championship in the tournament. So Purdue's not going to make it.
I think Michigan's best team in the Big Ten, and Nebraska shorthanded almost beat them in Ann Arbor. You might not be wrong. I think, look, Nebraska will win an NCAA tournament game for the first time in their history this year. Fred Hoiberg's done a really nice job in Lincoln with that team. Again, a football school where the basketball team's better.
They said no place is better to be than Indiana right now. And I was thinking of Indiana, not Nebraska.
Yeah.
I heard you say something about Indiana. I thought, my apologies.
You're good, man. All right, Twitter poll before we get out of here. Still got about 19 hours left on it. The poll question of the day, given all the chaos in college sports, what do you think is the best solution? Collective bargaining, antitrust exemption? There is no solution. 54% right now, collective bargaining. 25% say there is no solution. 21% say antitrust exemption. Still have 19 hours to vote. So jump on in there at 1075 The Game on Twitter X. Cale, great job, my friend. Thanks for putting up with us and listening. We'll have our buddy Jay back tomorrow. Post-game show, Terry Ford. Talk to you tomorrow at 3 here on The Game.